The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zekthar of the Vortak Empire displayed the holographic evidence. Floating before the assembled delegates was the twisted wreckage of 3 separate fleets, Krillian, Nexari, and Vortak vessels alike, their hulls corroded beyond recognition. The hydro weapons, Zekthar's voice carried the weight of cosmic dread, have claimed another system. Kepler 442 is now a dead zone. Nothing survives their touch. Counselor Vrex of the Aquatic Depths Alliance shuddered, her gills fluttering with anxiety. 47 civilizations have fallen to these liquids of destruction. They dissolve everything: metal, flesh, energy shields. Even our most advanced hazmat protocols fail. The newest members of the council, the humans, sat quietly in their designated section. Ambassador Elena Rodriguez leaned forward, her dark eyes studying the footage intently. The pattern is always the same, continued Zekthar. The weapons appear in crystalline containers, seemingly harmless. But once released, they consume everything in their path. We've lost entire colonies to just a single drop. Supreme Chancellor Gorth, a massive silicon-based being, addressed the chamber with grinding vocal cords. The origin remains unknown. These hydro weapons simply appear in cargo holds, storage bays, sometimes even in our most secure facilities. What's the composition? Elena asked, speaking for the first time. The chamber turned to look at the human delegation. There was something unsettling about how calm they appeared while discussing galactic genocide. Unknown, admitted Chief Science Officer Quell of the Mentari Confederation. Our best analysis suggests they contain hydrogen and oxygen in some form, but the exact molecular structure defies our understanding. They're corrosive beyond imagination. Acids so powerful they can eat through neutronium-reinforced plating in seconds. Colonel Marcus Webb whispered something to Elena, who nodded thoughtfully. Have you tried tasting them? She asked innocently. The silence that followed was deafening. Then nervous laughter erupted from several delegates. Tasting. Zekthar's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement or horror. Ambassador Rodriguez, these substances have ended civilizations. They are weapons of mass destruction, not refreshments. Elena shrugged. Just seems like the obvious first step in analysis. Sensory evaluation. The laughter died away as the delegates realized the human wasn't joking. 2 weeks after the council meeting, Elena found herself aboard the research vessel Endeavour, humanity's contribution to the joint investigation fleet. The ship hummed with activity as the crew prepared to examine the latest hydro weapon discovery, a cache of crystalline vials found drifting in the ruins of the Kelmorian trade hub. Dr. James Patterson, the mission's xenochemist, ran his scanners over the sealed containment unit. Fascinating stuff, he muttered, adjusting his glasses. The energy readings are off the charts, but in a completely different way than we expected. Different how? Elena asked, peering over his shoulder. Well, according to the alien databases, these should be registering as highly corrosive compounds, pH levels in the negative range. But our instruments are showing something else entirely. Colonel Webb entered the lab, followed by Captain Lisa Torres. What's the status, Doc? That's what's so interesting, Patterson continued. Our scanners are reading these as various forms of water, specifically earth water. Some with minerals, some carbonated, some with organic compounds we use for flavoring. Elena blinked. Are you saying? I'm saying these hydro weapons appear to be nothing more than bottled water, sports drinks, and what might be cola. The room fell silent except for the hum of the ship's systems. That's impossible, Webb said. We've seen the footage. These things dissolve starships. I know what the data says, Patterson replied. But I also know what my instruments are telling me, and they're saying one of these vials contains what appears to be lemon-lime soda. Captain Torres frowned. Could our equipment be malfunctioning? I've run diagnostics 3 times. Everything checks out. Patterson gestured to the containment unit. There's only one way to be sure. You want to open it? Elena asked. I want to do what humans do best. Patterson grinned. Test things empirically. With proper safety protocols, of course. Webb looked skeptical. The aliens' most advanced containment systems couldn't handle these substances. Maybe, Torres said slowly, that's exactly the problem. Maybe they're over-engineering the solution. Elena nodded. We've seen this before. Remember the Thraxan poison flowers that turned out to be strawberries? Or the Xyrillian death crystals that were just rock salt? This is different, Webb protested. We're talking about weapons that have wiped out entire fleets. Patterson was already suiting up in a standard hazmat suit. Not the quantum-sealed environmental armor the other species used, just a basic protective outfit. Doc, are you sure about this? Torres asked. Patterson paused at the containment unit. Captain, I've been a xenochemist for 15 years. I've analyzed alien atmospheres, processed samples from gas giants, and once accidentally created a crystal that sang opera. But I've never seen readings this familiar. He reached for the controls. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? And if you're right? Webb asked. Patterson grinned. Then I'm about to solve the galaxy's biggest mystery with the oldest human tradition in the book. Which is, when in doubt, drink it and see what happens. The containment field shimmered as Patterson carefully extracted one of the smaller vials. Through the transparent material, they could see a clear liquid that fizzed gently, tiny bubbles rising to the surface. Carbonated, Torres observed. Definitely carbonated. Patterson placed the vial in the analysis chamber and ran a final scan. Confirmed. This appears to be sparkling water with natural flavors. Specifically, what our database identifies as essence of citrus. Elena pulled up the alien reports on her tablet. According to the Vortak Empire, a single drop of this exact substance ate through their battle cruiser's hull in under 3 minutes. Well, Patterson said, cracking the seal on the vial, let's see what all the fuss is about. The others stepped back instinctively, despite being behind protective barriers. Patterson raised the vial to his lips and took a small sip. He paused, swished it around his mouth and swallowed. He said thoughtfully. Definitely La Croix. Lemon lime if I had to guess. Maybe a hint of grapefruit. The silence stretched for a full 10 seconds. That's it, Webb asked. Well, it's a bit warm. I prefer mine chilled. Patterson took another, larger gulp. Yeah, this is definitely just sparkling water. Pretty good, actually. Elena was frantically checking her readings. No physiological changes. No tissue damage. Heart rate and brain activity normal. Torres opened a communication channel. Bridge, send a message to the Galactic Council. We need an emergency session. Emergency session about what, Captain? Torres looked at Patterson, who was now casually drinking from the vial like it was a water bottle. About the fact that we might have just solved the hydro weapons crisis by accident. 3 days later, the joint investigation fleet had assembled in orbit around dead Kelmorian Prime. Representatives from 12 species watched via hologram as Patterson stood in the cargo bay, surrounded by opened containers of the dreaded hydro weapons. As you can see, Patterson said, holding up a bottle of blue sports drink, I am completely unharmed after consuming approximately 4 liters of various hydro weapon samples. Ambassador Zekthar's image flickered with disbelief. This is impossible. We have documented proof of these substances destroying our vessels. Which is why we need a controlled test, Elena interjected. Dr. Patterson, are you ready? Patterson nodded and opened the bottle. Without hesitation, he poured the bright blue liquid over his hand. The alien delegates recoiled in horror, expecting to see his flesh dissolve. Instead, Patterson's hand remained intact, just slightly wet and smelling of artificial berry flavor. Now, Elena said, let's see what happens when we pour the same substance on one of your hull samples. Webb wheeled forward a section of Vortak battle armor. Patterson poured a small amount of the blue liquid onto the surface. Immediately, the metal began to smoke and bubble. Within seconds, the liquid had eaten through the entire sample, leaving a perfectly round hole. Impossible, whispered Quell. The same substance that harmlessly contacted human skin just dissolved our most advanced armor. Elena smiled. Ladies, gentlemen, and assorted sentient beings, I think we need to have a serious conversation about biochemistry. Dr. Elizabeth Warren, humanity's leading xenobiologist, had joined the fleet specifically for this moment. Her presentation to the Galactic Council was about to overturn everything they thought they knew about the hydro weapons. The key, she began, gesturing to a holographic display of molecular structures, lies in understanding what these substances actually are and why they affect different species so differently. The display showed the chemical composition of various hydro weapons: water, carbonated beverages, sports drinks, and coffee. What you've been calling hydro weapons are common Earth beverages. The question isn't what they are, it's why they're so destructive to your technology and biology. Counselor Vrex of the Aquatic Depths Alliance spoke up, her voice trembling. But we've lost entire colonies to these substances. How can simple water be so destructive? Warren highlighted a section of the molecular display. Because to most of you, it isn't simple water. It's one of the most corrosive substances in the universe. She pulled up biological scans of various species. Look at your cellular structures. Krillians are silicon-based. Vortac are crystalline matrices. Nexari are metallic compounds. Even you, Counselor Vrex, despite being aquatic, are based on liquid methane, not H2O. The implications began to dawn on the assembled delegates. To a silicon-based life form, Warren continued, water isn't just harmful. It's catastrophically destructive. It breaks down your cellular bonds at the molecular level. And carbonated water? The carbonic acid makes it even worse. Ambassador Zekthar's mandibles clicked rapidly. But our ancestors evolved in environments with trace amounts of hydrogen and oxygen. We've encountered water worlds before. In trace amounts, yes, your species have developed limited resistance to water vapor and ice. But liquid water in these concentrations? Direct contact with pure H2O. Warren shook her head. It would be like a human swimming in hydrochloric acid. Dr. Patterson stepped forward. Which explains why your containment systems fail. You're designing them to contain exotic superweapons. Instead, you need to contain something fundamentally incompatible with your biology and technology. Colonel Webb brought up tactical displays. It also explains the pattern of attacks. These aren't weapons being deployed by an enemy. They're Earth beverages that somehow ended up in your supply chains. Elena raised her hand for silence. There's something else. We've analyzed the containers these substances came in. The crystalline vials? They're made from compressed earth sand, silicon dioxide. The same material used in human glass manufacturing. She paused for effect. These aren't alien weapons. They're human products. Supreme Chancellor Gortha's voice ground out like shifting stone. Are you suggesting that humans are responsible for the hydro weapon attacks? Not attacks, Elena corrected. Accidents. The silence that followed was profound. Think about it, she continued. These substances only appear in cargo holds and storage areas. They're in containers meant for consumption, not warfare. And they only become dangerous when they contact non-human materials or biology. Warren nodded. We believe these are lost human beverages that made their way into galactic trade routes. To us, they're harmless refreshments. To everyone else, they're weapons of mass destruction. Finally, Counselor Vrex spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. How many humans are out there? Captain Sarah Mitchell of the Deep Space Cargo Hauler Frontier Express was having the worst day of her career. Her ship had been intercepted by half the Galactic Council's combined fleet, and she was currently sitting in a detention cell aboard a Vortac command vessel. The door dilated open, and Ambassador Elena Rodriguez walked in, followed by Ambassador Zekthar. Captain Mitchell? Elena extended her hand. I'm Ambassador Rodriguez, representing humanity on the Galactic Council. Sarah shook the offered hand, confused. Are you here to get me out of this mess? Actually, we're here to ask you about your cargo manifest, Elena said. Specifically, about some beverages you might have lost. Sarah blinked. Beverages? You mean the cooler that went missing 3 months ago? Elena and Zekthar exchanged glances. Tell us about this missing cooler, Elena said carefully. Not much to tell. We were hauling colony equipment to the Kepler system when we had a malfunction in Cargo Bay 7. Lost about a dozen containers, including my personal cooler with about 2 cases of assorted drinks. Sarah shrugged. I filed a report, but who's going to search space for lost sodas? Zekthar leaned forward, his crystalline structure refracting light. Captain Mitchell, those lost sodas have been responsible for the destruction of 3 star systems. Sarah stared at him. Come again. Elena pulled up holographic displays showing vessel wreckage. Your lost cooler has been causing what the galaxy calls hydro weapon attacks. These beverages are lethal to most non-human life forms. You're joking. Sarah looked between them. Please tell me you're joking. I'm afraid not, Elena said. We need to know exactly what was in that cooler. Sarah rubbed her temples. Let's see. I had a 12-pack of Coke, some Gatorade, a few bottles of water energy drinks, Red Bull, I think, and some sparkling waters my daughter likes. LaCroix, maybe some Perrier. With each item she listed, Zekthar's crystalline form seemed to dim. That's the entire list of confirmed hydro weapons, he said quietly. The substances that have caused galactic panic for over a year. Sarah stood up abruptly. You're telling me that my lost lunch cooler has been terrorizing the galaxy? Unfortunately, yes, Elena confirmed. The question is, how many other human vessels have lost similar cargo? The answer was disturbing. Captain Rodriguez of the Lucky Strike had lost bottled water during a pirate attack. Commander Thompson of the New Horizons had jettisoned damaged containers containing sports drinks after a reactor leak. The civilian transport Dream Chaser had suffered decompression that scattered passenger supplies across half a star system. In total, they identified 17 separate incidents where human vessels had lost beverage cargo in space over the past 2 years. It gets worse, Dr. Patterson reported during an emergency briefing. We've confirmed that at least 6 incidents resulted in beverages being picked up by automated alien cargo recovery systems. The drinks were then distributed through trade channels as unknown alien substances. Elena felt a headache coming on. So alien traders have been unknowingly selling human soft drinks as valuable artifacts. Exactly. And because they don't understand what they're selling, they're not taking proper precautions. In the corner, Zekthar had been silent throughout the discussion. Finally, he spoke. Ambassador Rodriguez, are there more humans out there? More ships carrying these substances? Elena looked uncomfortable. According to our records, there are approximately 47 human vessels currently operating in Council space. The silence was deafening. Dear Cosmos, Zekthar whispered, the humans, they're everywhere. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any in recorded history. Every member species was present as delegates struggled to comprehend the scope of the crisis. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, said Supreme Chancellor Gorth. The hydro weapons that have terrorized our galaxy are actually human refreshments? Elena nodded. That's correct, Chancellor. What you've been calling weapons of mass destruction are everyday beverages, water, sodas, sports drinks, coffee. And these substances are lethal to virtually every known form of non-human life and technology? Continued Gorth. Unfortunately, yes. Water-based liquids are fundamentally incompatible with most galactic biology and materials. Counselor Vrex spoke up, her voice tight with panic. But humans consume these substances regularly? Without protection. Dr. Patterson stepped forward. Not only do we consume them, Counselor, they're essential for our survival. Humans are approximately 60% water by body mass. These hydro weapons are literally what we're made of. The chamber erupted in concerned chatter. Several delegates activated emergency communications with their homeworlds. Ambassador Zekthar raised an appendage for silence. The immediate question is containment. There are dozens of human vessels in Council space, each carrying supplies of these substances. Plus the ones already lost in space, added Colonel Webb. Our scans indicate hundreds of containers floating in debris fields throughout the galaxy. This is a catastrophe, declared Minister Quell. We need immediate evacuation protocols. System-wide quarantine. Wait, Elena interrupted. Before we panic, let's consider the actual solution. She activated a holographic display showing water's molecular structure. The problem isn't that these substances exist. The problem is that no one knew what they were or how to handle them safely. Now that we understand the threat, we can develop proper protocols. Dr. Warren joined Elena. We've already identified effective containment methods. Standard human materials, plastics, treated glass, certain metal alloys, are completely resistant because they're designed to store these substances. You mean you already have containment technology? Asked Zekthar. We call them bottles, Elena said simply. The silence was profound. Furthermore, Warren continued, we can provide warning systems, proper storage protocols, and safe disposal methods. The key is understanding these aren't exotic weapons. They're common substances requiring common-sense handling. Captain Torres stepped forward. We're prepared to offer comprehensive training to all council species on safe handling of water-based compounds. We can also provide neutralization methods for existing contamination. Neutralization. Gortha's voice carried hope. Evaporation, Elena explained. Heat the substances to 100 degrees Celsius and they become water vapor, which dissipates harmlessly. Or simply contain them and wait. Most carbonated beverages lose potency as CO2 escapes. Elena looked around the chamber. But we're also prepared to offer something much more valuable. Which is? Asked Chancellor Gorth. Elena smiled. Partnership. Humans are naturally immune to the galaxy's most feared weapon, and we require it for survival. We're uniquely positioned to handle cleanup operations, salvage missions in contaminated areas, and exploration of water-rich worlds other species consider uninhabitable. You're suggesting an alliance, Gorth said slowly. I'm suggesting cooperation. Humans can safely operate in environments lethal to everyone else. In exchange for integration into the galactic community, we offer our services in dealing with hydro-weapon contamination, past, present, and future. Elena raised a bottle of water, causing several delegates to recoil. The galaxy doesn't have to fear the hydro-weapons anymore, because humanity is here to drink them. 6 months after the hydro-weapon crisis was resolved, Captain Sarah Mitchell found herself in the most unusual job of her career. The Frontier Express had been retrofitted as a specialized containment and cleanup vessel, and she was currently leading a salvage operation in the ruins of the Kelmorian system. Contact on Sector 7 reported her new first officer, a Vorthack engineer named Crix who had volunteered for the dangerous duty of working alongside humans. Looks like a debris field with multiple hydro-weapon signatures. Sarah consulted her scanner, which now included specialized equipment for detecting water-based compounds. Confirmed. I'm reading about 24 containers scattered across a cubic kilometer. She opened a channel to the other vessels in her salvage fleet, a mixed group of human ships and specially modified alien vessels operating at safe distance. Okay, people, standard cleanup protocol. Humans move in for direct collection. Everyone else maintains minimum safe distance of 5 kilometers. The operation proceeded with practiced efficiency. Human crew members in standard work suits collected the floating bottles and cans, loading them onto storage vessels. What had once been galaxy-threatening weapons were now simply litter to be cleaned up. Sarah, came a voice over the comm from Dr. Patterson, who had become the galaxy's leading expert on hydro-weapon disposal. We're getting some unusual readings from Container Batch 7. Unusual how? Well, unless I'm mistaken, someone lost a cooler full of beer. Sarah laughed. Better mark it for proper disposal then. Hate to accidentally start another galactic incident. Actually, Patterson replied, I was thinking more along the lines of proper disposal via human consumption. It's been a long day. The comm channel filled with laughter from the human crew members, while their alien colleagues expressed varying degrees of horror at the casual discussion of consuming weapons-grade materials. Meanwhile, on the Galactic Council station, Elena was concluding her weekly briefing on human integration progress. The Hydro Weapon Cleanup Program has exceeded all expectations, she reported to the assembled delegates. We've successfully neutralized contamination in 47 star systems, recovered over 3,000 dangerous containers, and established early warning systems in all major trade routes. Ambassador Zekthar clicked his mandibles in approval. The efficiency is remarkable. What would have taken our best hazmat teams decades to accomplish safely, your people completed in months. It helps that we can literally drink the problem away, Elena replied with a grin. Chancellor Gorth leaned forward. What's the status of the Human Integration Program? Elena pulled up holographic displays showing expanding trade routes and colony projects. Better than we hoped. 17 human merchant fleets are now operating under council registration, all equipped with proper storage protocols. We've established human trading posts in 12 systems previously considered too dangerous due to water contamination. And the economic impact? Asked Minister Quell. Significant. Worlds with abundant water sources are incredibly valuable for human colonization projects. What you considered poisoned wasteland, we consider prime real estate. The trade opportunities are enormous. Councillor Vrex spoke up. There have been reports of humans actually seeking out contaminated areas for settlement. Elena nodded. New Terra colony in the Hydra system is thriving. They're using naturally occurring water to support agriculture and manufacturing. What was once a quarantined dead zone is now one of our most successful colonies. Your species treats our greatest fear as a basic necessity, mused Zekthar. Elena smiled. That's what humans do, Ambassador. We find ways to survive, adapt, and turn problems into solutions, usually while drinking something.